We're here talking with Zach Zamboni. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
Okay, all right, because I just love the fact that your last name is very, and you're from Maine. It's the thing that cleans, the ice.
Makes it anew.
It makes it anew. Zach Zamboni. Welcome back to Craft Truck Through the Lens. The world of cinematography is changing at a rapid pace with so many channels and so much content that's being developed in different ways, mainly in the sense of reality TV and documentary. And we have with us today Zach Zamboni. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, how did you fall into the reality world?
I mean, I think a lot of people who came up when I was coming up, that there was a lot of jobs there.
Yeah.
It was like camera people needed.
Yeah.
And there was just long lines.
Have you lit on, or have you been shooting on shows, operating on shows, or shooting on shows where it was, although it was reality, whatever that means, whatever that means,
because it's really fiction, even though it's nonfiction.
Exactly.
Right.
It was all, you had to pre-light a lot of stuff. You had to, Can you give us some examples of that?
Well, like on the show that I do a lot of, No Reservations, I mean, we run into all kinds of different situations.
Actually, I want to talk about that a bit later, but is there anything else that's sort of like one location, like setup that you did that was?
Yeah, I did some Bravo and MTV stuff a long time ago. That was that kind of, light the whole space with kinos and walk through, and no matter where we go, we can kind of shoot. But I less interested in that, more interested in documentary and verite work.
Have you made any feature docs?
I have not. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get experience on this reality documentary style stuff, and then how did the call for No Reservations come around?
I was doing another show for Gourmet magazine for public television.
Right.
And they saw my work on there and.
What was that? That show was, again, you mentioned it earlier. But
Gourmet's Diary of a Foodie.
Diary of a Foodie, right?
Yeah.
And so how did this, tell us about shooting that show. Were you traveling a lot?
Yeah, I travel all the time, verite, doc style, not so much lighting, get what you can, single camera, coverage is all yours. Different people, places all the time.
What are you learning while you're doing this?
You learn coverage pretty damn fast. You also learn how to make things, how to improve things with little. You have a little amount of tools. You have a limited amount of people around to help you. So you have to learn to do everything you can with what you have.
Are there any particular sequences you can point to where you're walking into a situation you were just like, ugh,
well, I mean, it's a different.
And then you were really proud of the results.
It's a different space. Yeah, I mean, God, I shot so many of those episodes. It's a different. Basically, it's the idea of walking into a different space all the time, over and over, different conditions, and trying to find something beautiful in there and something that works for the edit.
So on the show, well, let's talk about the finished product.
Sure.
Diary of a Foodie, because I haven't seen it.
Okay.
So the finished product is I guess.
There was different hosts all the time.
And they would go into a restaurant and just talk.
It could be all kinds of things. It could be creating some VO with a character. Character may lead you into a place. They interact with people. It's a bit fly on the wall. Could be some interviews.
With more than 45 years of experience and a mantle full of culinary awards, Richard specializes in the unexpected. Originally trained in France, Richard learned the ropes as a pastry chef before turning his sights to savory and eventually to trompe l'oeil.
So today he's going to be making a hog out, which is essentially a shrimp dumpling, with this bird's nest, which is quite unusual here in Hong Kong. After it comes out of the steamer, he puts a little bit of gold leafing on top. Oh, it's so pretty. It's like jewelry. Who wouldn't want to eat that? That's lovely.
What Sergio loves about his stand and his work is not only feeding people, but standing on this corner and being able to interact with people from all parts of the world, every social strata.
It felt like a kind of free-running documentary kind of show.
That's cool.
That you were documenting things, that you weren't setting things up and creating them.
Right.
You know?
And so an example, if you followed somebody into somebody's kitchen and they were going to, watch as Mama Rosa, whoever
Sure, yeah.
made their
Exactly.
own home recipe. I can only assume that over the course of the first season, or however many seasons, how many seasons you shoot this for?
A few, yeah, 2, 3, maybe 2 or 3, yeah.
Okay. So over the course of the first season shooting it, you got better and better at figuring out what the editors of the season and series would want.
I got positive feedback, Yeah, exactly.
So what would immediately go through your mind walking into a new location in terms of cut? Is it about cutaway? Is it about angle? What was it? Are you sitting there roaming with the camera like this? Like
Right. Well, it's it goes back to story. It's like, what's the story in this particular place?
Right.
How am I gonna? First of all, what are my building blocks so the audience even understands like what the hell's going on?
What the hell's going on?
And then how does that become beautiful and not just ...
Right.
Not just an ABC or
Right.
how-to show. It's this combination of of finding things. I think that's what I learned.
You're talking about blocking, really. Is it?
Yeah, and it's yes, and I think that's that trifecta of block, light, shoot is that's our base. That's our live by that. You got to live by that.
It's interesting that you're living by an old school, very big set mentality, but
Yeah.
in the smallest of.
You can't get around it.
Yeah.
Those are our fundamentals. Blocking. How do I and the camera relate to subject, and therefore how does the audience relate to subject?
Yep.
Very big. You can't get around that.
Yep.
And therefore, what is provided to the editor based on that relationship,
Right.
So what you're seeing here is a permaculture garden, and this here is called Jerusalem artichokes. We are growing a lot of our food, and from that point of view, we're not original. We're just doing like the older folk have done for many generations.
It teaches you to find that light in nature, find things in nature, because you don't have time to make them. And then you can take that when you go and do fiction, and based on all the things you found, you can kind of recreate things. But having to find things over and over and over, I think that was the strength of those kind of shows.
So you have Diary of a Foodie. Mm-hmm. They call you in for No Reservations. Mm-hmm. Did you have to meet with the producer, meet with Anthony, meet with...
Just the producer called me, and he knew me from the other show. And it was one question, which was, do you like to drink? Which I thought, does he know, did he hear about me drinking wine at lunch on the other show? Am I in trouble? Like, what's going on, how do you answer that question? Do you like to...
Well, first
maybe,
of all...
yes. Yeah, cheers.
This is Zach Zamboni.
Thanks.
There we go.
Yeah, you think...
Gotcha.
Yes, okay, yes, I do, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Fine.
like, good, you're hired. Yeah.
I think the answer should have been... No!
No, I hate drinking. You're like, good, you're fired, I guess.
That's fabulous. Okay, so he said good, you're hired. You could probably be a fly on the wall to somebody not ill-suited, we should say, to this kind of work, and watch them come into the room and say, I can't shoot here, or I can't make this work, or whatever. And
Right.
No, you're not getting this.
Right.
This is exactly
Right.
180 degrees in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. It's the ability to see things quickly, to react quickly. Reaction time is huge, And it's
So you're almost like a quick draw with the...
well, kinda. It comes back to awareness. You've got to be able to stay on top of the situation. Be aware. It's like situational awareness all the time.
Right. Okay, so you get the job for No Reservations. How many seasons now have you shot?
I don't know. I think I came in season 3. I don't know what season it is now. 9? 8?
9.
Yeah.
9. Okay, so you've been
6
shooting
years?
5, 6,
I don't know. Yeah.
6 seasons of it.
Lots. Long time.
How many episodes a season? 20?
Yeah, I think I've shot, 60, 70 episodes.
Got it.
With that program.
Okay, and you've gone all over the world with it.
Yeah. Well, not everywhere. It's hard to go everywhere. But.
Yeah. Now, Mr. Bourdain, you see him on other programs where he can be quite specific. At times, look pretty blunt.
Yeah, he's blunt.
Blunt. Does he have a lot of input into what, or is it just that he just figures you're catching the action, or I mean, what's the relationship? I just want your insights. I think one of the interesting things for people watching this to know are the insights about the dynamic. Like you've already touched on it with about the attitude, the approach, but the dynamic when you're working with so few people. Your star in this situation is a producer of the show as well. So
I mean, he in his ideal world, he lives his life and we capture it, and that's why there's no second takes. There's no redoing things. If you miss it, you miss it, and then you don't have it. So and you got to deal with that.
This restaurant, Club Chasse Pêche, happens to share a terrace with the museum next door, but is unaffiliated. The restaurant's name means hunting and fishing club in French.
I hate colonial. I saw those people in the stockings, and I pretty much wanted to cold cock them.
Yeah, but dude, that's not where we're at right now.
You know they got a loom in there right there.
They don't even know we're here.
We're good.
If you need a less spicy solution to hangover woes, you might run over to Burger's Priest in Leslieville, because who doesn't crave a morning hamburger when hungover? There's a secret menu involving crimes against nature like this, a special burger that uses grilled cheese sandwiches for a bun. Insert artery clogging joke here, right? Yep.
Tell us about some of the places you've had to take your camera over the course of shooting this show.
Oh man, just both temperature extremes in the world. I mean, from the hottest to the coldest places.
Where tell us about some of the hottest.
I think Siberia, to
Literally
the Arabian Desert. Yeah, Manchuria, up in there. That was so cold.
And you're elevated?
Yeah, I think there's elevation there. Yeah, and your bone marrow is cold. That's what I felt like up there. I felt like my bone,
your bone marrow.
Yeah, it was like my bone marrow had gotten to a certain temperature where I couldn't warm it up again. And I'm from a cold climate,
Yeah.
And I remember the first time stepping out of the van up there and just thinking, my God, it is so cold.
Oh, God. Yeah, architectural splendor sort of loses its charm when you can't feel your extremities.
But I can't move my face. It's too cold.
It's cold. Did I say that? An omnipresent, relentless cold.
So I'm told ice cream is very popular with the locals, though I've seen little evidence to support that given the temperature. You'll see, frolicking children holding ice cream cones. I believe I've been misled for purposes of comedy.
Do you have any crew?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's...
To put up a light, to...
No, we don't have, no. Not like that.
So you have a sound guy, you...
Yeah, well, it's me and Todd usually, two DPs, and we'll pick up ACs sometimes, if especially when we're working on the F3. There's a producer, a director, no sound, and then a fixer. Maybe the fixer has a helper, some drivers, maybe a PA. But yeah, if there's a light,
you're rolling in at 2 vans at the most.
2 vans. Oh, never more than 2 vans. Yeah. So if lighting needs to be done, yeah, it's me that's doing it.
Okay. So give us a situation in which you're able to add some instruments or whatever.
Oh, I mean, if you're working on a camera like the X3, you're going to get into dark spaces where you just have to light.
Right.
Just to see.
Right.
If you don't light it, you just won't see it.
What's some of the darkest spaces you've worked in?
Oh, caves. I mean, with no light, where I had to
Why was he? Okay, so what was the situation? Why was Anthony going into the cave? Was it to try a Pilsner or something?
Yeah, right. I mean, we got led down to see a river of bat urine, actually, as it turns out.
A river of bat piss.
Yeah, which
hot.
Some find that very interesting. It was hot down there, but it was very dark, as you can imagine.
So what did you do? Just tell us what you did. I mean, you get down there and you're
I took one of the producers and I taped light panels to their chest because it was also really muddy and slippery. So we kept dropping everything.
Yeah, You taped.
So yeah, so you just wipe the mud off, stand them back up, face this way. Worked great, actually. I can't imagine a better solution.
That is fabulous.
Yeah, just walking lighting unit.
Plus,
just do a nice silhouette shot. You could put them up a little high in the cave. And
plus, it lets you boss the producer around a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
You over there.
Right. That was horrible. Yeah, it was a horrible scene.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So dark. So yeah, dark. I mean, or we just did this Culatello scene in our last Italy show, and that was complete. It was just completely dark.
What'd you do there?
Cranked up the camera, 6400, something like that, and went with the little bit of light that was coming through some of the little cracks, and it had some little tiny lights in the cellar, or some daylight coming in, and they had a couple of fluorescent units for them. But man, it was
dark.
It was dark.
What do they let you bring with you?
Oh man, we have some bag of tricks kind of stuff. We have light panels.
Yep.
I love strings of lights, muslin, emergency todas. I mean, sometimes we'll rent lights where we are. If we do a show like the Italy show, I need a bunch of lights to do something like that. Rent those. Dados sometimes, I love those.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, now Super 35 sensors that, we've never seen cameras this fast before.
Yeah.
And you really do see things you couldn't see before.
Right.
We are able to capture things we couldn't actually capture before.
Right.
Night city streets and places that, you just never seen that stuff.
Right.
Available light, it's pretty wild. It's wild what you can see. That petri dish of life where, you add the lights and something changes,
Yeah.
Affects people. You go into a dark bar, it's supposed to be a verite scene. Yeah, put up a bunch of lights. Hey, everybody, it's like, you can't tell me that doesn't change.
Yeah, well, first of all, we used to have a saying when you're in the bar and, at the end of the night, you want to get out of there before, quote unquote, the ugly lights come on.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but that's
Because
exactly what you're doing.
Whoever
right?
you're talking to
I know.
and yourself
It's true.
probably look a whole lot better. But beyond that, just the vibe, exactly what you're talking about. If you're trying to get candid thoughts, there's a certain intimacy to whatever the person has adjusted to. And if you break that intimacy.
Well, yeah, I guess that's another thing that kind of shooting taught me is that, cameras affect people, lights affect people. You're affecting, anytime you introduce something to the environment, you're affecting it.
How's the food on the show?
It's great.
Travel.
Yeah, we eat what he eats, a vast majority of the time. So it's good. We eat it long after, we're much hungrier.
Can Bourdain cook himself?
Yeah, of course.
Is he good?
Yeah. He spent, 25 years in the kitchen.
You ever tell him the stuff tastes like shit? Say, hey,
I
Anthony.
Yeah, no.
No, never.
It wouldn't be true. He's quick to admit he's not, an Eric Repair, but the guy spent 25 years.
He knows his stuff.
And you can see that influence the way this show works too.
Yeah.
In the kitchen and on a set, the power of entropy is very real, right? It's always working. Things will turn to chaos if you do not.
And the best part about entropy, it only goes in one direction.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you can see that, and especially in the kitchen, trying to impose your ideas on something. You have an idea about a dish. Well, there's collaboration certainly involved in making that dish, but there's a goal there. There's something you're trying to achieve. It's not a random taste or texture that you want. It's a specific thing. And if you don't figure out how to organize people or inspiring people, either by the carrot or the stick, to get that thing, then it's not going to get accomplished, So you can kind of see how the kitchen enters our world too, and that it's got to be done this way. It's no bullshit. It's hard work. There's no complaining. There's no being late to work. We're here to make something and make it good.
Any particular types of projects you want to move on to shooting now that you're curious about?
More fiction. I'm doing more fiction these days. Drama.
Zach Zamboni, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you, and we look forward to seeing more and very different styles of photography emerging over the years.
Yes.
To the future.
to features.